Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of her ship. The Earth defense ship Retribution moved through space toward the Sylvany system. She had made this trip many times before. The elves who lived there were Earth's best friends among the stars. How long until we reach their home? Lisa asked. 2 hours, Captain, said Lieutenant Kate Sullivan from her seat at the communications desk. Lisa smiled. She looked forward to seeing the beautiful forest worlds again. The Sylvani elves had taught humans so much about living in peace with nature. Their cities grew like gardens among tall trees. Their technology worked with living things instead of against them. Captain, said Commander Amy Carter from the weapons station. I'm not picking up any signals from the system. Lisa frowned. What do you mean? No radio signals. No ship traffic. Nothing at all. That was strange. The Sylvani system was always busy. Ships came and went. Radio signals filled the space around their worlds. The elves loved to talk and share news. Maybe their equipment is broken, Lisa said. But she felt worried. Dr. Elena Rodriguez walked onto the bridge. She was Earth's best expert on alien life. I was hoping to talk to the Sylvani doctors today. I have new medicine to share with them. We might have a problem, Lisa told her. Amy says there are no signals coming from their system. Elena's face went pale. That can't be right. The Sylvani never stopped talking to each other. The ship moved closer. Soon they could see the Sylvani system on their screens. Lisa's heart sank. Where beautiful green worlds should have been, she saw brown and gray planets. Smoke rose from the surfaces. My God, whispered Amy. What happened here? Space around the planets was full of broken ships. Pieces of metal drifted where space stations used to be. Everything was destroyed. Full scan of the system, Lisa ordered. Her voice was hard now. Amy worked at her controls. Captain, I'm reading massive weapon damage on all the planets. The cities are gone. The forests are burning. Kate tried her radio again and again. No response from anyone, Captain. The whole system is silent. Lisa felt sick. Millions of elves had lived here. Now there was nothing but death and fire. Look for survivors, she said. Check every piece of wreckage. Someone might still be alive. For hours, they searched. They found nothing but broken ships and dead worlds. The beautiful Sylvani civilization was gone. Then Kate's radio made a sound. A weak signal came through the static. Captain, I'm getting something. It's very faint. Put it on speaker. A voice came through, speaking the musical language of the elves. It sounded hurt and scared. Can you understand it? Lisa asked Elena. Elena listened carefully. She's asking for help. She says she's the last one. Get a fix on that signal, Lisa ordered. Amy found the source. It's coming from a small ship near the third planet. The ship is badly damaged. Take us there, fast. The Retribution moved toward the damaged elven ship. As they got closer, they could see it was barely holding together. One side was crushed. The engines were dead. Bring that ship into our docking bay, Lisa said. Carefully. They used a beam to pull the broken ship inside their own vessel. Lisa, Elena, and 2 security guards went to meet whoever was inside. The door of the elven ship opened with a grinding sound. Inside, they found a female elf. She was hurt bad. Her long silver hair was covered in blood. Her beautiful face was cut and bruised. Help me, the elf said in broken human language. Elena knelt beside her. You're safe now. We're friends of your people. The elf looked up with tears in her green eyes. They killed everyone. All my people. All my friends. Who did this? Lisa asked. The Krextar, the elf whispered. They came without warning. So many ships. They burned everything. Elena gave the elf medicine for her pain. What's your name? Zarathel. I was a scout. I was away when they attacked. When I came back, she started to cry. Lisa felt anger growing inside her. The Sylvani had never hurt anyone. They were peaceful people who loved life and growth. Why did the Krextar attack? She asked. Zarathel looked at her with sad eyes. Because you are our friends. They said any world that helps humans must die. They wanted to teach Earth a lesson. The words hit Lisa like a punch. The elves had died because they were friends with humans. How many of your people escaped? Elena asked gently. Very few. Maybe some colonies far away are still safe, but here, everyone is gone. My family, my friends, my whole world. Zarathel closed her eyes. They didn't just kill us. They made sure nothing would ever grow here again. Lisa stood up. Her hands were shaking with anger. She walked to the communication panel. Kate, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Silvani system has been destroyed. Tell them we need every ship we have. Yes, Captain. What should I say happened? Lisa looked back at Zarathel. The elf was the last survivor of a whole world. Her people had died because they were friends with humans. Tell them our friends were murdered, Lisa said. Tell them Earth needs to answer. Amy stepped up beside her captain. What are your orders? We're going to make sure this never happens again, Lisa said. The Krextar think they can kill our friends and scare us. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Elena helped Zarathel to the medical bay. As they walked past, the elf looked at Lisa. Will you really fight for us? Even though we're all gone? Lisa put her hand on the elf's shoulder. You're not all gone. You're here. And as long as one of you lives, you have friends who will stand with you. Outside the ship, the broken worlds of the Silvani burned in the darkness, but inside the Retribution, something else was burning. Human anger, human determination, the promise that genocide would not go unanswered. The war was about to begin. The message from Captain Morgan reached Earth in 3 days. General Patricia Hayes read it in her office at Earth Defense Command. She read it twice, then called an emergency meeting. Within hours, the most important leaders on Earth sat around a table. They watched the video that Morgan had sent. They saw the burned worlds. They heard Zarathel tell her story. When the video ended, the room was quiet. How many Silvani lived in that system? Asked Admiral Brooks. 12 billion, General Hayes said. All dead. Senator Williams shook his head. 12 billion people. Gone. Because they were our friends. The Krextar wanted to send us a message, said Defense Minister Clark. They're telling us to abandon our alien allies or watch them die. General Hayes stood up. Then we need to send them a message back. For the next week, Earth's military worked faster than ever before. Ships that were being repaired were rushed back into service. New ships rolled out of factories that had been building them for months. Weapons that had been in storage were loaded onto cargo vessels. Captain Morgan, now promoted to Admiral Morgan, got command of the largest fleet Earth had ever put together. 200 warships, 500 support vessels, the best weapons humanity had ever made. The fleet gathered near Earth's moon. Admiral Morgan stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Earth defense ship Vengeance. She looked out at all the ships under her command. Each one carried humans who were angry about what happened to the Silvani. In the medical bay, Dr. Rodriguez worked with Zarathel every day. The elf was getting stronger, but her heart was still broken. Tell me about Krextar weapons, Elena said. Zarathel sat up in her bed. They use energy beams. Very powerful. Their ships are big and strong, but they move slowly. How do they fight? They attack in straight lines. They don't change their plans much. They think their size and power will win every time. Elena wrote notes. What about their armor? Thick metal plates, good against energy weapons. But Zarathel thought for a moment. They've never fought humans before. What do you mean? All the people they conquered before were peaceful. When the Krextar showed up with big fleets, those people surrendered quickly. They didn't want to fight a war they couldn't win. Elena nodded. But humans are different. Yes. You don't give up. Even when things look bad, you keep fighting. The Krextar don't understand that. Commander Carter came to visit them. She wanted to learn about Krextar battle tactics. How do they usually attack? Amy asked. They surround a planet with many ships, Zarathel explained. Then they demand surrender. If the people say no, they destroy everything from space. Do they send troops to the ground? Only after the planet is helpless. They don't like to risk their soldiers. Amy smiled coldly. That's going to be a problem for them. Why? Because humans don't fight from space only. We get up close. We fight dirty when we have to. Over the next few weeks, the human fleet trained for war. They practiced new ways to fight. Ways the Krextar had never seen before. Dr. Rodriguez made a discovery in the ruins of Silvani technology. The elves had created weapons that grew like plants. These bioweapons could eat through metal armor. "Can we make these?" Admiral Morgan asked. "Zarathel is teaching me how," Elena said. "The Silvani grew their weapons instead of building them. It's completely different from our technology." "How long will it take?" "Give me 2 weeks." While Elena worked on new weapons, Commander Carter planned the first attack. She studied maps of Krextar space. She looked for the best place to hit them first. "Here," she said, pointing to a star system near the border. "This is where they keep their supply ships. If we destroy this base, they can't feed their armies." Admiral Morgan looked at the plan. "It's deep in their space. We'd be outnumbered 10-1. "That's what they expect us to be afraid of," Amy said. "They think we'll attack carefully, slowly. If we hit them hard and fast, we can destroy the base before they can react. And then we show them what happens when you kill our friends." Lieutenant Sullivan had been listening to Krextar radio signals. She brought disturbing news to the Admiral. "They're planning more attacks," Kate said. "I heard them talking about 3 other systems where humans have alien friends." Admiral Morgan felt cold anger in her chest. "They're going to kill more innocent people." "Not if we stop them first," Commander Carter said. That night, Admiral Morgan couldn't sleep. She walked through the ship, visiting her crew. In the weapons bay, she found Zarathel working with human engineers. "You should be resting," Morgan said. The elf looked up from a strange green device. "This is a Silvani plasma cutter. It can cut through any metal. Your people are learning to make them. Why are you helping us? You could leave, find the other Silvani colonies and be safe." Zarathel's green eyes filled with tears. "Because my people died for being your friends. If I run away, their deaths mean nothing. But if I help you stop the Krextar, maybe other worlds will be safe. This war won't bring your people back. No, but it might save someone else's people." The next morning, Dr. Rodriguez announced her success. She had learned to make Silvani bioweapons. The first batch was ready. Admiral Morgan held one of the new weapons. It looked like a metal seed with green veins running through it. "How does it work?" she asked. "You shoot it at an enemy ship," Elena explained. "When it hits, it starts to grow. It eats through the armor and keeps growing inside the ship." "Will it hurt the people inside?" "Only if they try to fight it. If they surrender, it stops growing." "Good. We're not monsters like the Krextar." Commander Carter brought the final battle plans to the Admiral's ready room. "The fleet is ready," Amy said. "Every ship has the new weapons. Every captain knows the plan." "How many Krextar ships are at the target?" "About 50. But they're spread out. They don't expect an attack." Admiral Morgan looked out the window at her fleet. 700 ships, all ready to fight for their dead friends. "Send the order," she said. "We jump to Krextar space in 1 hour." As the ships prepared to leave, Zarathel came to the bridge. She wore a human uniform now with the rank of Special Advisor. "Are you sure you want to come with us?" Admiral Morgan asked. "My people's souls won't rest until justice is done," the elf said. "This won't be justice. This will be war. Ugly, brutal war." Zarathel nodded. "The Krextar started this when they burned my world. Now you will finish it." The countdown began. All across the fleet, humans prepared for the largest battle in their history. They weren't fighting for money or land. They were fighting because their friends had been murdered. "Jump in 10 seconds, called the navigation officer. Admiral Morgan thought about the 12 billion elves who had died. She thought about the other innocent species the Krextar planned to kill. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump. The stars changed. The human fleet appeared in Krextar space like thunder from a clear sky. The war had begun. The human fleet appeared in Krextar space like a storm. Admiral Morgan watched her ships spread out according to plan. The enemy base was straight ahead, surrounded by 50 alien warships. "They're trying to call for help," Lieutenant Sullivan reported from her communication station. "Jam their signals," Admiral Morgan ordered. "I don't want any word of this getting out until we're done." Commander Carter coordinated the attack from her position. "All ships! This is vengeance! Begin the assault!" The Krextar ships were caught completely off guard. They had been floating peacefully around their supply base, never expecting humans to attack so deep in their territory. The first human missiles hit before the aliens could even turn their ships around. But these weren't normal missiles. They were Dr. Rodriguez's bioweapons, grown from Silvani technology. Green vines burst from the impact points and began eating through the Krextar armor. Within minutes, the alien ships started breaking apart from the inside. "Enemy ships are trying to retreat," Amy reported. "Don't let any escape," Morgan said coldly. Human ships chased down the fleeing Krextar vessels. The aliens were bigger and more heavily armed, but human ships were faster and smarter. The battle was over in 2 hours. "All enemy ships destroyed," Commander Carter announced. "The supply base is ours." Admiral Morgan felt no joy in the victory. She walked to the communication station where Zarathel was listening to captured enemy transmissions. "What are they saying?" Morgan asked. The elf's face was grim. "They're scared. They've never seen weapons like ours before. They don't understand how their ships were destroyed so quickly." "Good. Fear will make them think twice before attacking innocent people." But the real shock came when Dr. Rodriguez examined the Krextar base. She found records of all their conquests. 23 different species had been wiped out over the past 100 years. "My God," Elena whispered as she read the files. "They're not just aggressive. They're evil. They enjoy destroying peaceful civilizations." Admiral Morgan read over her shoulder. Each record showed the same pattern. The Krextar would demand surrender. When peaceful species refused to become slaves, they were completely destroyed. "Show this to Zarathel," Morgan said. When the elf saw the records, she began to cry. "All these people, all these worlds, gone forever." "We can't bring them back," Morgan said gently. "But we can make sure it never happens again." The fleet left, the destroyed base behind, and moved deeper into Krextar territory. News of the attack spread through enemy space despite their efforts to hide it. Lieutenant Sullivan intercepted enemy messages. "They're calling an emergency meeting of their high command. They want to know how humans got so deep into their space." "What else?" "They're moving fleets to protect their important worlds. They think we're going to attack their homeworld next." Commander Carter smiled. "That's exactly what we want them to think." While the Krextar moved their ships to defend their core worlds, Admiral Morgan led her fleet to attack their outer colonies. These worlds supported the Krextar war machine with factories and shipyards. The second battle was different from the first. The Krextar were ready for them this time. They had studied the wreckage from the supply base and learned about human bioweapons. "They've modified their armor," Dr. Rodriguez reported during the fight. "The bioweapons aren't working as well. Then, we adapt," Admiral Morgan said. She turned to her weapons officer. "Switch to kinetic rounds. Aim for their engine sections." Human ships changed tactics in the middle of battle. Instead of growing weapons that ate through armor, they used simple metal slugs fired at incredible speed. The Krextar had prepared for one kind of attack, but humans gave them something completely different. "Enemy flagship is breaking apart," Amy announced. "Their formation is collapsing. This battle lasted longer, but the result was the same. Human victory." But victory came with a price. 12 human ships were destroyed. Hundreds of good people died fighting for their murdered friends. Admiral Morgan visited the wounded in the medical bay. Dr. Rodriguez was working around the clock to save lives. "How many did we lose?" Morgan asked quietly. 237 crew members, Elena said without looking up from her patient. "But we saved 3,000 Krextar civilians from the colony below." Civilians? The Krextar used slave labor from conquered species. When we destroyed their military base, we freed the slaves. Admiral Morgan went down to the cargo bay where the freed slaves were staying. She found dozens of different alien species. All of them had been worked nearly to death by their Krextar masters. An elderly alien with blue skin approached her. "Are you the human commander?" "Yes. My people were conquered 40 years ago. The Krextar killed most of us and made the rest into slaves." "Why did you save us?" Morgan thought about the question. "Because it was the right thing to do." The alien looked confused. But we can't pay you. We have nothing to offer in return. We don't want payment. We want justice. Word of human attacks spread through Krextar space. Some worlds surrendered without a fight when human ships appeared. Others tried to resist and were quickly defeated. But the humans weren't just destroying things. In every system they conquered, they freed slaves and helped rebuild damaged worlds. Species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly found themselves free. Zarathel worked with Dr. Rodriguez to establish communication with these freed peoples. Many of them wanted to join the fight against their former masters. "They're offering to help us," the elf reported to Admiral Morgan. "We can't ask them to fight. They've suffered enough." "You're not asking. They're demanding the right to fight back." Within weeks, the human fleet had grown. Ships from a dozen freed species joined the attack. They brought their own weapons and their own anger. Commander Carter found herself commanding not just human ships, but a fleet of aliens united by their hatred of the Krextar. "This is bigger than we planned," she told Admiral Morgan. "The Krextar created this situation," Morgan replied. "For 100 years they've been making enemies. Now all those enemies are united against them. The war spread across a dozen star systems. Every victory brought more freed slaves and more allies. The Krextar found themselves fighting not just humans, but every species they had ever oppressed. Lieutenant Sullivan monitored enemy communications constantly. The messages she intercepted showed growing panic in Krextar command. "They're trying to negotiate," Kate reported. "They want to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "They'll withdraw from human space if we stop attacking their territory." "Admiral," Morgan laughed bitterly. "They think this is about territory? This is about justice for 12 billion dead elves? What should I tell them?" Morgan looked out at her fleet. Human ships flew alongside vessels from 20 different species, all of them united by the simple idea that genocide should not be allowed. "Tell them we'll accept nothing less than complete surrender. Tell them the war ends when they can never hurt anyone again." The Krextar response came quickly. They would fight to the death rather than surrender. "Then that's what we'll give them," Admiral Morgan said. The fleet turned toward the Krextar homeworld. The final battle was coming. The combined fleet moved toward the Krextar homeworld like an angry storm. Admiral Morgan now commanded over 1,000 ships from 30 different species. Each one carried beings who had suffered under Krextar rule. "Enemy fleet detected ahead," Commander Carter announced. 500 ships. They're forming a defensive line around their homeworld." Admiral Morgan studied the enemy formation on her screen. The Krextar had positioned their strongest ships between the attackers and their home planet. "They're trying to protect their families," she said. Zarathel stood beside her on the bridge. "Just like my people tried to protect theirs," Dr. Rodriguez came up from the medical bay with troubling news. "Admiral, I've been studying the intelligence we captured. The Krextar aren't just evil. They've been taught from birth that other species are inferior. Their whole society is built on conquest." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this won't end with one battle. Even if we win, some of them will always believe they have the right to destroy other civilizations." Admiral Morgan felt tired. The war had been going on for months. So many people had died on both sides. But every time she thought about stopping, she remembered the burned worlds of the Sylvani. "Then we make sure they can never act on those beliefs again," she said. The battle for the Krextar homeworld began at dawn. 500 alien ships against 1,000 allied vessels. But the Krextar were fighting for their survival now, and desperate enemies are dangerous. The first wave of attacks met fierce resistance. Krextar ships fought with a fury they had never shown before. They knew this was their last chance. "They're targeting our command ships," Lieutenant Sullivan reported, as enemy fire focused on the larger vessels. "All ships, scatter formation," Admiral Morgan ordered. "Don't give them easy targets." Commander Carter coordinated the battle from her station, but it was unlike any fight they had experienced. The Krextar weren't trying to win anymore. They were trying to hurt the Allies as much as possible before they died. "Enemy ship ramming the Manchester," Amy shouted. On the screen, they watched a damaged Krextar cruiser crash into a human destroyer. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. The battle raged for hours. Ships died on both sides. The space around the Krextar homeworld filled with wreckage and the bodies of the dead. But slowly, the Allied fleet pushed through. Human bioweapons and superior tactics began to tell. One by one, Krextar ships fell silent. "Their defensive line is breaking," Commander Carter announced. Admiral Morgan felt no satisfaction. Too many good people had died to reach this point. "Begin orbital bombardment of military targets only," she ordered. "I want their war machine destroyed, but leave their cities alone." The fleet moved into orbit around the Krextar homeworld. From space, they could see the planet's surface. Large cities covered in dark metal, military bases scattered across the continents. This was the heart of the empire that had murdered billions. Dr. Rodriguez used her scanners to identify targets. There's a military command center in the northern continent, and here, a weapons factory. This looks like a training facility for their soldiers. "Destroy them all," Admiral Morgan said. Beams of energy fell from the sky like rain. Military bases exploded. Weapons factories melted into slag. Training centers became craters, but the cities full of civilian Krextar remained untouched. Zarathel watched the destruction with mixed feelings. "My people would have wanted mercy," she said quietly. "We're showing more mercy than they did," Admiral Morgan replied. "We're not killing their families." Lieutenant Sullivan picked up a transmission from the planet's surface. "Someone's trying to surrender." Put it on screen. The face that appeared was clearly Krextar, but different from the warriors they had been fighting. This one was older, with signs of fear in his eyes. "I am High Commander Vextal of the Krextar hegemony," the alien said. "We request terms of surrender." Admiral Morgan stepped forward. "There are no terms. Complete and unconditional surrender, or we continue the bombardment." "You don't understand. We are the superior species. We have ruled this region of space for centuries. You cannot simply—" "Your forces are destroyed," Admiral Morgan interrupted. "Your military is gone. Your weapons factories are burning. You have nothing left to bargain with." The Krextar commander's face twisted with anger. "We will never bow to inferior species." The transmission cut off. "Resume bombardment," Admiral Morgan ordered sadly. More military targets died under the orbital assault, but still the Krextar government refused to surrender. Dr. Rodriguez made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the captured intelligence files, she found plans for something called the Final Protocol. "Admiral, you need to see this," Elena said urgently. The plan was horrifying. If the Krextar faced total defeat, they would activate hidden weapons, scattered throughout the galaxy. These weapons would destroy every world where non-Krextar species lived. "They're prepared to commit genocide on a galactic scale rather than admit defeat," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "How many worlds would die? Hundreds, maybe thousands. Every species they've ever encountered." Admiral Morgan felt sick. The Krextar weren't just evil. They were so consumed with hatred that they would destroy the entire galaxy rather than lose. "Can we stop these weapons?" "Maybe. But we'd need to capture their central command facility intact. All their military leaders would have to surrender alive." Commander Carter studied the tactical situation. "That's impossible. The command facility is underground, protected by their strongest defenses. We'd lose half our fleet trying to take it. And if we don't try, they'll activate the Final Protocol," Admiral Morgan said. Zarathel spoke up from her position. "There might be another way." Everyone turned to look at the elf. The Silvani had deep-ground scanners, technology that could map underground facilities. "If I can modify our sensors—" "Do it," Admiral Morgan ordered. While Zarathel worked on the sensors, Admiral Morgan made the hardest decision of her career. She called together the commanders of all the allied species. "The Krextar have weapons that can destroy every world in the galaxy," she told them. "If we push them too far, they'll use those weapons out of spite." "What are you saying?" asked Captain Veltar of the freed Zorian fleet. "I'm saying we need to capture their leaders alive. We need them to surrender and deactivate their doomsday weapons." "That means ground invasion," said Commander Torres of the Human Marines. "Sending soldiers down to the planet?" "Yes, and many of them won't come back." The room was quiet. Everyone understood what Admiral Morgan was asking. A space battle was one thing, but landing on an enemy planet and fighting through their strongest defenses was suicide for many of the soldiers involved. I'll lead the assault, Commander Torres said finally. I'll go with you, said Zarathel from the doorway. I know Krextar tactics better than anyone. Admiral Morgan wanted to say no. The elf had suffered enough, but she also knew they needed every advantage they could get. Prepare for ground assault, she ordered, and may God help us all. As the Allied forces prepared for the final battle, Admiral Morgan stood on her bridge and looked down at the Krextar homeworld. Somewhere down there were the leaders who had ordered the death of 12 billion elves. Soon they would face justice. But the price of that justice might be higher than anyone could bear. The ground assault began at midnight. Thousands of soldiers from dozens of species dropped from the sky in armored pods. Admiral Morgan watched from orbit as her forces landed on the Krextar homeworld. Commander Torres led the human marines toward the underground command center. Zarathel flew beside him in a modified combat suit, her elven knowledge guiding them through the enemy defenses. Heavy resistance at Grid 7, Torres reported over the radio. They're fighting for every meter. Dr. Rodriguez tracked the battle from the medical bay, ready to treat the wounded as they came back. The casualty reports were terrible. For every meter the Allies advanced, good soldiers died. Can you see the command center yet? Admiral Morgan asked over the communication link. We're close, Zarathel replied, but there are too many defenders. We need another way in. The elf studied her scanner readings. The Silvani technology she had modified showed her the underground layout of the Krextar base. There was a maintenance tunnel that led directly to the command center. I can get a small team inside, she told Commander Torres. But it's a one-way trip. The tunnel will collapse after we use it. Too dangerous, Torres said. We stick to the main assault. There's no time, Zarathel insisted. My scanners show energy building up in the weapon systems. They're getting ready to activate the final protocol. Admiral Morgan heard the conversation over the radio. How long do we have? Maybe an hour, Zarathel said. If they activate those weapons, every world in the galaxy dies. The decision was made. Zarathel would lead a small team through the maintenance tunnel, while the main force continued their frontal assault. It was their only chance. I'm going with her, said Lieutenant Kelly Murphy, a human demolitions expert. Me too, added Sergeant Janet Stone, a communications specialist. The three-woman team slipped away from the main battle and found the hidden tunnel entrance. It was narrow and dark, barely big enough for one person at a time. Remember, Admiral Morgan said over their radio, we need the Krextar leaders alive. They're the only ones who can shut down the doomsday weapons. The tunnel was a nightmare. Ancient maintenance passages filled with pipes and cables. The three soldiers crawled through darkness for what felt like hours. Behind them, the battle continued. Commander Torres and his forces pushed harder, drawing Krextar defenders away from the command center. Finally, Zarathel's scanner showed they were directly under their target. This is it, she whispered. Lieutenant Murphy placed explosive charges on the tunnel ceiling. When I blow this, we'll have maybe 2 minutes before they figure out where we came from. Ready? Sergeant Stone asked, checking her weapon. The explosion was small but precise. A hole opened in the floor of the Krextar command center. The three soldiers climbed up into a room full of shocked alien officers. The Krextar reached for their weapons, but Zarathel was faster. Her elven reflexes and human training made her deadly in close combat. She moved like lightning, stunning the enemy officers before they could draw their guns. In the center of the room stood High Commander Vextal, the same Krextar who had refused to surrender earlier. His hand was on a large red button. Stop, Sergeant Stone shouted, pointing her weapon at him. You're too late, Vextal snarled. I'm activating the final protocol. Every world you care about will burn. If you push that button, you die, Lieutenant Murphy said coldly. I'm willing to die to destroy you all. Zarathel stepped forward. Wait, the Krextar commander looked at her with surprise. An elf? I thought we killed all of you. You killed my world, my family, my friends. 12 billion innocent people. As it should be. Lesser species have no right to exist. Zarathel's green eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. You're wrong. Every species has value. Every life matters. That's what my people believed, and that's what humanity believes. Weakness, Vextal spat. No, strength. the strength to protect others instead of destroying them. The Krextar commander's hand hovered over the button. Your human friends will learn. Power is everything. Mercy is weakness. Then why are you losing? Zarathel asked quietly. For a moment, Vextal hesitated. Around him, his officers lay unconscious. Above ground, his armies were beaten. His empire was destroyed. Because, Zarathel continued, you made enemies of everyone. Every species you conquered, every world you destroyed. They all united against you. You created the alliance that defeated you. It doesn't matter. When I push this button, we all die together, including your own people, your families, your children. For the first time, the Krextar commander looked uncertain. Lieutenant Murphy spoke up. Admiral Morgan is offering terms. Surrender now, and your civilians will be protected. Your species will survive. Lies. Humans don't lie about things like this, Sergeant Stone said. We could have destroyed your cities from orbit. We chose not to. Zarathel took another step closer. I lost everything because of you. My world, my people, everyone I ever loved. But I don't want to see more death. Even yours. High Commander Vextal looked around the room. His empire was gone. His armies were defeated. But his people could still live. Slowly, his hand moved away from the button. I surrender, he said quietly. The war was over. 3 months later, Admiral Morgan stood in a garden on the restored Silvani homeworld. The planet was still scarred, but life was growing again. Zarathel had brought seeds from the surviving Silvani, colonies, and the forests were returning. The Krextar leadership is cooperating with the War Crimes Tribunal, Dr. Rodriguez reported as she joined them. They're providing information about all their hidden weapons. How many worlds were targeted? By the final protocol? Morgan asked. 2,000. Every species they'd ever encountered. If we hadn't stopped them, Admiral Morgan didn't want to think about it. 2,000 worlds. Trillions of innocent lives. Zarathel knelt beside a small tree she had planted that morning. This is a memory tree, she explained. In Silvani culture, we plant them to remember those we've lost. Will your people forgive us? Morgan asked. For not saving them in time? The elf looked up with sad but peaceful eyes. There's nothing to forgive. You couldn't have known what was going to happen. But when you learned of our fate, you acted. You made sure it would never happen again. Around the galaxy, the former Krextar territories were being divided among the species they had conquered. Slave worlds became free. Destroyed civilizations were given new homes. It wasn't perfect. Many species would never recover from what had been done to them. The Silvani would never return to their former numbers. But the galaxy was safer now. What will you do now? Dr. Rodriguez asked Admiral Morgan. Go home, I suppose. Earth needs time to heal too. This war cost us a lot. The galaxy owes humanity a great debt, Zarathel said. We didn't do it for gratitude. We did it because it was right. That evening, Admiral Morgan walked through the memorial garden that had been built for the dead Silvani. 12 billion names were carved into living stone that would grow and change over time. She found Zarathel sitting beside the memorial playing a soft melody on an elven flute. Beautiful song, Morgan said, sitting beside her. It's a farewell song. We play it when someone goes on a journey they won't return from. Are you leaving? No. This song is for my people. They're gone. But their memory lives on, and their sacrifice wasn't meaningless. Because of what happened to them, you acted. Because you acted, the galaxy is free. Admiral Morgan looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, on thousands of worlds, people were living in peace because of the choice humanity had made. The choice to answer genocide with justice. They wiped out our friends, she said quietly. And Earth answered with firepower, Zarathel finished. But more than that, Earth answered with courage, with sacrifice, with the simple belief that innocent people deserve protection. A gentle wind blew through the memorial garden, carrying the scent of growing things. Life returning to a world that had known only death. The war was over. The galaxy was safe. And somewhere among the stars, 12 billion elven souls could finally rest in peace, knowing their friends had not forgotten them. Admiral Morgan and Zara Thel sat together in comfortable silence, guardian and survivor, human and elf, united by loss and hope. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in months, it looked bright. They had kept their promise. They had made sure it would never happen again.